Yeah, everyone's in,
Hello.
Elliot.
Oh, I'm
Welcome.
spotlighted. That's why I can't see anyone.
Yeah, welcome.
Oh, I was
Welcome,
like, where are
everyone. We can see
they?
them. We can see
Oh,
them.
technology is great. Hello, everybody. Hello, welcome to the Future Ready Summit. Welcome, everybody. Lovely to see so many names pop up. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And especially for those across the pond in America. Ben's with us all the way from the US of A. It's Thanksgiving. So, first of all, I want to acknowledge everybody who's showing up despite being Thanksgiving and hopefully all showing up with the same level of gratitude for wherever we are in the world, being thanks for what we have. So, hello, everybody. If you just want to quickly, I'll do a proper introduction shortly. We'll bring up the slides. But very quickly, just say a quick hello and where you're from so we can see some of the people where you are in the world. We've got a UK. Hi, David. I can see that pop up. We've got Edinburgh, Mallorca, UK, Dorset, that's around Ibiza, Johannesburg, Jerusalem, Chichester, Germany, Canada. God, can I keep up with this? Brighton, India. Wow. Real mix. What I'd really love, before we get going and I say hello, is I would really love to know what brought you to this summit. Just in one sentence, what brought you to register to come to our Future Ready online summit? I'd love to know what that is. So, Maria did, we've got there. One paid gigs, good to know. What else? Research, your energy. Oh, thank you so much. My energy or as a company energy? Speakers reset, expansion of my knowledge. Couldn't agree more. You guys starting out speaking. Simone told me to. Lots of people being told, learning. Oh, okay, so interesting. How many of you are here because of AI? Give me an emoji because you want to learn about more about AI. Give me your favorite emoji and keep it clean. I'm seeing me, me. Love speaking, want to expand my network. Good stuff. Always. I've got a thumbs up from Leanne. Hello, Leanne. Lovely to see you. Mo's giving us an emoji. Irma's giving us a thumbs up. All right, let's get going. Could I have the slides, please? Hello from Bromley. Um, I've been a conference event MC, 10 years love speaking. Okay, lots of thumbs up. Let's bring up the slides. So we'll wait him for Simone to, he's our slide man. He's our next slide, please. Kind of guy, for those of you who remember. So welcome to the Future Ready. So we've got a really exciting lineup. We've got first up, we've got the one and only Maria Franzoni, and she's going to talk about what bookers will hire in 2026. She's a former speaker, booker. She's booked the who's who and the who's not in the speaking world. So she's going to give some insights into that. We've got Ben Gold, who is 6 o'clock in the morning for him. And he's shown up to talk about AI tools for speakers specifically. So everything we do is all around professional speaking. And we've got the one and only Chris and Jude who are going to talk about how to future ready your websites, how to use websites in a more effective way as a speaker, because it's also your stage, just like other elements as a professional speaker. Let's move this to the next slide, please. So the way it's going to work for those of you who showed up is there's a 25-minute per session. It's going to be fireside chat by one and only Lavelda Vincenzi. We're going to do Q&As where possible. She's going to say a quick hello shortly, and then we're going to think about what you can do to apply that to your business, what actions you might need to take to apply it to your business. So really exciting. Everything we do is value led. Everything we do is about empowering you and allowing you to take action and move forwards. So how can you get the best out of your time with us? It's a 2 hour online summit. Get involved. We ask a question, put your answer in there. If you have a question, do it. And as you're going along, I would suggest a couple of things. Stay present. I know it's tempting to look at things and to look at WhatsApp and things like that, but stay present to the now. Listen to what's being said. Put a little action plan together. Ask questions. You're going to get time to ask questions. Maria, Ben, and Chris and Jude, all around the elements to become future ready for 2026. And give me a thumbs up if you want to be ready for 2026. No thumbs up. I'm not seeing any thumbs up. Oh, there we go. One person wants to be ready for the. Yeah, I'm seeing some thumbs up. There we go. Oh, wow. And explosions of thumbs. Loving it. Great. And I think that's what's really important. That's why we wanted to put this on, is because we wanted to make sure that you're equipped moving into 2026. And now is the time to really do that. And make sure you're taking action. Don't let this be another special summit you attended. We have a special giveaway today. So for those of you who do want to post about us, use the hashtag Speaker Summit. We highly recommend that you post about us on the Speaker Summit because we have a special prize draw and the prize will be revealed a bit later. So who is who? So for those of us who never met us, for those of us meeting us for the first time, by the way, give me give me an emoji if this is the first time you're coming across us as I do this. So my name's Elliot Kay, and I'm the visionary, the thought behind what we've put together here. I came up to begin with. This was the Speaker Awards only, but we always run a conference with it, and then the conference became the Speaker Summit. And I did this because I really wanted to highlight and support an industry that supports so many people. So when I came up with the idea, I wanted to put the spotlight on speakers who are doing so much great work coming out of the pandemic. Since then, it's evolved to become the premier platform for professional speakers. And what we do here is we pull back the curtain and we show everything of what goes on behind professional speaking beyond just delivery. And that's really the whole ethos of everything we do. We're coming into year 5. Next year will be a party. I remember someone telling me I'm not going to pull it off. And I said, watch me. And here we are now. I'll hand it over to Lavelle to say a quick hello, and then Simone will say hello.
Hi, folks. My name is Lavelle Vincenzi. So I am basically the operating officer here. Elliot comes up with the crazy ideas. I turn them into action. I am a professional moderator and host, and I will be conducting the interviews with our amazing panelists today. So you'll kind of get a little bit of seeing me in action. I joined this because I love the speaking industry. I've coached speakers and moderators and hosts before, and there wasn't really a place to go that really focused deeply on professional speaking. And so when Elliot asked me to be a part of it, I was like, why not? Let's see how far we can take this thing. So I'm really excited to be here, excited to get to meet many of you, some for the first time, some brand new. That's a little bit about me. Simone, over to you.
Yeah, my name is Simone Vincenzi. Hi, everyone. As you can see, Lavelle and I share the same surname. So yes, we are married. And no, we are not married with Elliot too. My role is to sell tickets. I'm the person who sends you all the emails. I'm the person who gets all the ticket sales, and my role is the sales director. My background in the speaking industry, I think I started 14 years ago. And because I was really bad at speaking, I started to create my own events because no one would get me on their stages. So I created my own events, built my company to run over, we did 1,000 events in 5 years. And my focus and the reason why I decided to be involved in the Speaker Summit and the Speaker Awards is because I believe in excellence. For me, speaking is an art form, is my life, is what I do day in and day out, is what I believe in, and I think it can change lives. And I believe in excellence. And what Elliot said, hey, Simone, I have this vision, let's do it. I found that there was no space that would celebrate and create excellence for speakers. And so I decided to jump on board. So you hear a bit more about me later. What I want to let everyone know, I'll put a link in the chat later on. We have a Black Friday offer for our in-person summit. I'll tell you a bit more about the tickets and the offer that we have later, but if you want to check it out, you are going to see the link in the chat very soon. All right, Elliot, back to you.
Hey, so awesome. And yes, I'm a professional speaker myself, and I work with professional speakers as well. I do talks around the world. And we're all very passionate about the speaking industry. So this is why we do these events. This is why we put these on. Look, we're all about leading with value. We're all about hands-on experience. Also, we bring exclusive industry experts. We've got Maria here, Ben, we've got Chris and Jude, and everybody. And what we really want to do is help you connect with them, hence it being Q&As, being open. It's not, you can go to the format of just talks. We want to open it more. We also want to focus it on, so you can secure better, more focused paid speaking gigs. And of course, we do work with really selected sponsors and partners as well. So That's a little bit our ethos. We do that when we do the summit, which is coming up in July, the 3rd of July in London. When we do our awards, it's all about an experience. It's always value led. There's no sales at the back of the room at our events. Although we sell tickets and things like that, it's never like find out by signing up to this. It's actually here's how you do it. And that's how we're different. That's how we've stood out. And that's why we stood out the test of time. And so let's move this forwards a bit more. So look, just very quickly want to talk about Jazz. Jazz was very much at our very first conference that we did 4 years ago. She showed up. She ended up working with quite a few people that are on stages. She's really said yes to herself. She's worked very hard. At the time, she was already charging a fair amount for her talks, but she learned, she implemented. And as a result, she's grown and grown and grown. She's doubled her fees. She actually spoke at the Speaker Summit this year. She's launched a book. She's had a TV series. It's all because she's applied what she's learned. She never got to that point where she's like, I've got this, that's it. I don't need anything else. And we can put our hands on our hearts and say that we've seen the growth. Her turnover has grown. She has grown. And it's just been an incredible journey. So it doesn't really matter where you are in this journey. We can always go up another level. We can have up level to wherever it is you want to go. She's also getting ready to launch internationally. And there's lots of stuff that's going on in her life right now, all because she's willing to sit down and study and learn and invest in herself. So let's move this forwards. Right. Let's hand it over to our host and moderator for today. Over to you. The amazing Lavelle de Vincenzi, who might want to unmute herself. That's
there we
a good
go.
start.
Yeah, there we go. Hello, folks. So let's dive in. Who's ready? I want to see some claps if you are ready to dive straight into today's session. Let's do this. Now, I have been given one of the world's hardest tasks as far as I'm concerned right now, because we have a very short amount of time to extract a lot from some incredible experts. I will be keeping an eye on the chat as much as possible. We're going to see if we can pull a handful of questions from you guys as well whilst we're going through this. I've prepared some questions as well. And the goal here is to dive as deep as possible. So our first session is really going to focus on what bookers will hire for in 2026. As we know, the landscape for speaking changes year on year. COVID shifted things. Geopolitical scenarios shift things, the internet shifts things, AI shifts things. So how do we position ourselves now as speakers in order to be able to be at the forefront of getting bookers? And we thought, well, who best to help us with this than the trusted advisor to speaker bureaus, a former International Speaker Bureau owner and agent herself, author of the best-selling book, The Bookability Formula, a lady who is helping speakers be more bookable and charge higher fees. Please give a warm round of applause and welcome to join me here right now, Maria Franzoni.
Hello. I know your first choice wasn't available. Thank you for putting me in there as a second choice. I'm very happy to be here. Right, let's get cracking.
So for those of you who don't know, Maria has actually been our speaker, our ambassador here at the Speaker Summit and Awards since the second edition, but she had to go behind the scenes first and judge and make sure we were good ends before she'd get involved. So Maria, without too much further ado, because I want to make sure we can extract as much as possible, when you look at the speaking industry right now, what would you say has been genuinely shifting over the past few years that speakers should pay particular attention to? Because there's lots of things moving, but where should we be honing in as speakers?
So I've got pages of notes here. So there's so much, and I don't want to forget anything because my memory is not what it used to be, you know. I've got a list of things that we've really got to be thinking about at the moment in the industry. First of all, something I've banged on about all the time, but it's even more important, that scrutiny on ROI, return on investment, return on objective, return on time. Bookers now, and when I say bookers, by the way, I'm talking about whether it's an end client, which might be somebody who owns the audience, employees, leaders, their leaders, or their clients and prospects, or it could be an association and it's their members. We're also talking about meeting professionals, meeting planners, people organizing conferences and events, and we're talking about speaker bureaus. So for me, a booker is any of those. And bookers need to justify the fee. They really have to justify the fee. It's more than ever now. It's really important. That's one. They also expect more value from a speaker. So coming in last minute, leaving straight after your speech doesn't work anymore. You've got to stay around and be a partner with them and work with them.
I love that word partnership, because
Yeah.
I think it's the old way of thinking about speaking is I go and I deliver a talk and I bugger off, for want of a better term. But what you're saying is bookers are now looking for speakers to be more partners in the event rather than to simply deliver a talk.
Yes. So if you can stay and do a breakout session or a panel or a Q&A, offer these things. So and speakers who are ahead of their time years ago were doing this. They're there, I'm there for the day. Let me help you, rather than be a hindrance. But what's really important is speakers who can now join the dots. So it's about, okay, this is my topic, but how does that relate to not only your business and what's going on in your industry, but how is geopolitics affecting? How is it affecting climate? How is tech involved? It's like having a 360 view with your topic. That's where the real money is, because that's where the real value is. That's not easy. Hybrid, I'm sad to say, because I think hybrid's really tough for speakers, is not going away. I thought it might because it's quite expensive, but it doesn't look like it is. And in fact, it's sort of digital access is now expected more and more. So I'm afraid you're going to have to learn how to be in the room and on the Zoom or on the web or whatever at the same time. And here's a big kicker, right? This is going to upset a lot of people. Recording is now becoming standard. If you don't want to be recorded at an event, you may not get booked.
Ouch.
That's a big one, I think. That was like a whoa. People want to record. They want to share it on their intranet. They want to share it with those who can't attend. So that's a big slap in the face for people who are delivering the same speech. And here's another change: customization, customization, customization. Now, Mary Tilson and I have been talking about that since day dot. But now, because you're going to be recorded, you actually don't really have a choice in it anymore. AI is now part of how planners do a search. So Ben is going to be very happy to hear that. Ben is my AI advisor, one of my AI advisors. Ben and Matt O'Neill are my two. So thank you, Ben. I'm so glad you made it. What else? There are younger planners coming in. Yes, these are digital natives. They're not like me. They've been brought up with social media and internet and everything. They do things a bit differently. And you've got to think a bit differently if you're as old, a bit of a relic like myself. For them, video is even more important than previous generations. But they're on to us, people. Yes, they love the show reel that's been edited and makes you look fantastic and is giving you your best bits, but they want also to know the authentic you. So they want the bit that hasn't been edited. They want to get to know you. So that's a bit of a shocker too. So not only do you now need a show reel, but you also need some longer clips of you on stage, possibly even being interviewed. So if you haven't got a YouTube channel, this might be the time to do it. Or if yours is like mine, sitting there a bit, not got enough. We're on YouTube Live, aren't we? But YouTube is more important than ever. I'm sorry, I'm going fast because there's so much I want to share with you. Oh,
Maria,
yeah.
I've seen a question in here from Andy, actually, which linked to something you said earlier about, nowadays people want to film and, you can't get away with not doing the recording. How do we restrict this? Is there any ways, how do we have the usage of that within realms? Are there things that we can do there? Or is it really just, you kind of have to customize a lot more than you've ever done before?
Yeah, you are. But what you can do as part of your contract is you can make sure that you get the raw footage as part of the deal and you get it in advance. You also want to see the edited version that they're going to put out so that you can see if there is one particular piece that you say, well, actually, I'd like to withhold that. Or if you've fluffed up, messed up, or it's not a good enough recording, you want to be able to give permission on the final recording that it suits and fits your brand. So there is a negotiation and an addendum to the contract to be had there.
I mean, people are going to make a note, folks. You might need to go back and look at those clauses in your contract or revise those clauses. So you're also talking about video, and you have a few other things in there as well.
Yeah, the final point I want to make on this particular question, I'm sorry I'm giving you a speech as an answer. I've turned into a speaker. Have you seen that? The markets have changed, right? So we've always looked to the US as being the growing market, the great market. It's a little bit cautious at the moment. We've had a bit of a government shutdown and there's a knock-on effect. And that's going to take a little while to recover because that's had a knock-on effect on budgets, on participation, on people dealing with visas, on travel. And Ben can probably tell us more about that, but I don't want him to go off but maybe as a Q&A later, because Ben is actually coming live from the US. So the markets that are thriving, Middle East and Asia really growing. I mean, India, wait to see what's going to be happening in India. It's really, really growing. And Saudi, right, was a market, an area which you might not have thought about. The investment that is going on in Saudi in conference venues and in events is phenomenal. So if you're not already thinking about Middle East, Asia, and parts of Africa, these markets are growing, and I think they're going to be hotter. They're going to grow faster than the US now, which is super exciting. Europe is not being left behind, but I'll tell you what's fascinating and interesting and good is that Europe is also looking at us to talk about sustainability a bit more as part of our business, which is great. So that's a good thing. But Europe is also growing, not quite at the same pace.
Lots and lots of stuff in there.
Sorry,
We've
too
talked.
much there.
I mean, you can't say we're not delivering value here, Maria. We're going deep and we're going fast. So you're gonna have to be writing like Billio if you want to collect all of this juicy nuggets. So we've got lots of things changing, but some things in the speaking industry don't shift and haven't shifted. What are the principles that you can see are not going anywhere at all before we throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak?
I suppose if I really wanted to make it super simple, what has not changed and will not change is the bookability formula. Let's be honest, you've got to be relevant to a paying market and a current problem. You've got to be known by the bookers for one thing, right? One topic, a clear topic, not 10 different topics, something strong with a commercial message. You've got to be memorable. You've got to be easy to book, easy to work with, easy to listen to, and you've got to bring lots of value. And all of that while maintaining a humble personality and not growing your ego. So I think bookability is the thing that's not going to change. Yeah, so that's it, as simple as that. Thank God, she says.
Yeah, I think you've got a book on that, haven't you?
Yeah, thank goodness that's not going to change. Otherwise, it would already have been out of date by 6 months in.
If you want to know more about those precise measures that Maria just shared, they're in her book, The Bookability Formula. So go and check that out. You'll see it. It's an orange background. You can see it in the background behind her. So if you haven't got a copy of that, I can't recommend it enough. It's a brilliant, brilliant book, and it will break down bookability formula. Speaking of being bookable, Maria, how are bookers actually finding speakers now? Because you spoke a little bit about the age, and younger bookers coming in. Are we finding the way bookers are booking shifting?
Well, it's really interesting because although it's shifting in many ways, actually it's going backwards as well. So online search now, even Google is using AI for search. And I'm not an expert in this, but Ben advises me on these things. People are using AI powered search. So it's not SEO anymore. It's not search engine optimization. It's AEO, AI engine optimization. And that might be a topic that we need to look at in the future on its own. So definitely that is really important. So you have to be online. Your online presence is really important. Speaker bureaus and trusted agents still have a role. I think that's changing. I did a whole newsletter on that recently if you want to go deeper into that. LinkedIn is absolutely still relevant and important. But I'll tell you where we're going back, that recommendations and referral piece is becoming more and more important, which is interesting, isn't it? Because so many people have actually become very good at marketing and saying how wonderful they are. And then some, not all, will then go and deliver and are shockingly bad, right? So now meeting professionals especially are relying on other meeting professionals to say, is this a speaker that I should trust? And so you need to be known by associations like MPI, Meeting Professionals International. I was a member, by the way, when I had my bureau because I understood how important that was. You need to be going where those meeting professionals are because even if they're not the final decision maker, the big organizations will be using those professionals to help run their events and they'll be relying on their input. So that referral and recommendation piece is actually more and more vital, which is fascinating. And your own website, which is great because we're talking websites today, thank goodness, right?
I think it's one of those things that as speakers, sometimes you think, oh, I don't really, it doesn't feel legitimate if you're getting stuff through referrals. It doesn't feel like you're really doing business. The marketing and the sales component feels like you're doing the good work. So it's interesting to hear you say that what appears to be happening now is people are relying and leaning more on that referral base, which means it's becoming more important for us as speakers to really think about building those relationships, not just showing up online and blasting information about ourselves and how wonderful we are. Not to say you need to stop doing that, but it's interesting to hear that both of those things are now needing to go hand in hand a lot more than they have done before.
Yeah, and one final thing which I missed, which is actually really important. Um, you've got to talk about the pain points that you're solving. You've got to talk about what is going on for the people that you're talking to, the audiences and the clients. What is their pain? What is the problem? Much more than I think we have done in the past. In the past, it's been about the topic. I'd almost make the topic reflect the pain or the outcome these days, rather than just be generic.
So we really need to, it's back to that ROI. People are really looking for, what am I going to get from this? Is this hitting home for anybody? Can you just give me some emojis or something in the chat so we know we're along the right lines?
Any good? Otherwise, I'll go and have a cup of tea and a lie down.
We need some motivation to keep going.
It's so hard getting nothing back. It's really weird, isn't it?
You get used to it when you're in these sorts of spaces. So we've spoken a little bit about how people are finding speakers. I kind of want to move a little bit further along. Has the process for booking changed? When a organizer or a booker has narrowed down 2 or 3 speakers, are they making that decision? Is that decision making process shifting at all?
I personally don't think it has, but for some, they might not be aware of it or it might be different for them. So what tends to happen is a quick scan. Is this person relevant? Is the message and the topic clear? Are they credible? Have they got the experience and the expertise to deliver it? And then guess what? Straight to video. So make it very easy when someone hits your homepage for them to find video. That's really important. And we talked about the different types of videos earlier. If you've arrived late, you'll have to wait for the recording. But thank you for coming along. They will then want to see how easy you are to contact. And I'm sorry, a web page will not do it anymore. Speed, 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 speed. And I'm not talking about the drug. Phone numbers need to be on your website. And I know people don't want to put their mobile numbers. I've got a VoIP number, a voice over internet protocol. It goes straight to a voicemail with my voice, but I get the message straight away and I can call people back straight away. The speed element is more important than ever. And do you know what? 9 times out of 10, it's not the best person that people book, but it's the first one that gets back in touch. Crazy, right? What else? They're going to compare you. You said it. They're going to compare you with 3 to 5 others. And guess what they'll be looking for? ROI when they're comparing you. That means testimonials. And that means if there's anything that's actually measurable, will be really important. And then the discussions they're going to have internally are going to be, will they deliver? And are they going to be easy to work with? They're going to be looking at that. And then the final check is, can they do anything beyond that speech? Can we do anything more? Because they're looking for extra value. So I'm sort of repeating the same messages in a different way, but it's fundamentally that same thing, that, adding value.
You alluded to websites and video. What are people looking for nowadays in terms of digital footprint online? What are the components that are rising to the top that bookers are really relying upon to make decisions?
Video, as we said, so YouTube channels, very good, and that's often the first thing that comes up, but also just that clarity of message. So if I'm finding you and I'm finding your content, are you talking about the same thing or are you all over the shop? Because if I'm bringing someone in as a booker, I want someone who's an expert on that topic, but also I want them to be giving me something, their unique lens, not a cookie cutter version of something else. So show, if you're a thought leader, show thought leadership. I interviewed David Newman recently, who's written an amazing book which I highly recommend. It's out this week, called Market Eminence. I had to read it because I've interviewed him, and it's a short book, but it talks about, for me, what I think the three things are that bookers are looking for. He was talking about anybody in terms of growing the brand, and he's saying help people know how to think about something, which actually I think is number one. Secondly, he says, help them to understand what they should believe and what they shouldn't believe, which is brilliant. And then tell them what they need to focus on. If your speeches do that and your content does that, I think it's tick, tick, tick. I think you're done.
My God, I mean, I'm going to have to go back and watch the replay myself to pick that one up. Because that is just gold nuggets there. If you just take that away and start thinking about your website, your show reel, your content that you're putting out, your speech in that kind of frame, you're going to be hitting all of those points. So we have about 10 minutes left, or 9 minutes left together. So I'm going to ask you one more question, and then I'm going to jump to the chat and see what floats to the surface. Simone and Elliot might need some help with that, because I now suspect the chat's going to go a bit nuts. So if a speaker wants to make themselves more bookable heading into 2025,
26.
what's the smartest 26, sorry. What is the smartest move that they could be doing over the next few weeks and months to really make that shift? If we had to distill this and say, here's the principle speakers need to be looking at and the shift they need to be making right now to really push themselves to the top echelons of bookability, what would that be?
I think real clarity of topic. We sort of touched on it earlier, where the topic isn't just something like thriving in a changing world, but actually talks about who it's for and where they're at. So, for example, instead of thriving in a changing world, how leaders reduce risk when change feels relentless. So now, that's saying, yes, I feel change is relentless and I'm dealing with risk. So I think really clear titles that give the outcome, the problem, and who you're talking to, I think is a really good move. So clarity of topic, clarity of outcomes, clear contact details, phone numbers, and speed of response, I think would be the things that are vital, non-negotiable.
Fantastic. So I'm having a quick look in the chat. Oh, a question's coming just as I had a look. Eric Simpson asks, for anyone getting started as a speaker, any additional tips to get visibility when it feels overwhelming? There's lots of speakers out there now. It feels like the marketplace has become more and more crowded in terms of speakers. So for those who are just entering, and I suppose it's still as relevant for those who have been in the market for a while, how are people standing out nowadays?
I hate to tell you, it stays overwhelming. It continues and continues. It doesn't get any easier. I think there's two places I would start. I would start with LinkedIn and go deep in that, because that's a great grow your network there. But I would also have your own website, because you never know if something's going to happen to LinkedIn, but also your own website, something that you own is really important. And people will start on LinkedIn and they will look at your content and they will engage with you and hopefully have conversations and connect, but they'll then want more information, and that's when they then go to a website. So I would start with those two in terms of being visible and getting known. You don't need to write a book. You can do that way into the future. It doesn't have to happen now. And let me tell you, writing a book takes your focus away on your business so much. It's just crazy. So yeah, those two, LinkedIn and your website.
Just a quick intervention here. Sorry, Lavelda. Welcome everybody who's joined us. Just so you two are aware, we've had a bit of a glitch with Zoom, and it stopped letting people in at 100. We've worked that out now. It's unglitched. So if you see people arriving late, Maria,
they weren't late.
Just so you know, that's why people are late. Just wanted to give you the heads up. That's all. Bye. I'm off now.
Oh my goodness. Okie cokes.
So leading on from that, Maria, I've got a question here about a speaker agent. I suppose, it's very easy to sit back and say, oh, visibility and getting in there and networking. Do we then need to start looking at some of these people who have the networks already and plugging into them? Where should they fit in?
So please don't go to an agent or a bureau early, because if you're not ready, they will brutally reject you. Well, no, actually, I was the one that did that. I would have brutally rejected you. And they will remember that they rejected you, but they won't remember why when you come back and you're fully formed, and you'll just get rejected again. So the agent, you don't go until you are already successful and you've already got momentum. The best way to get introduced to an agent is where you're stealing business from them, because then they're going to be paying attention, right? And they're saying, right, and that's actually how I ended up working with Jamil Qureshi, who was my most successful speaker in the end. I rejected him. As you do, and I would have rejected the Beatles probably. So, and then sometime later, my biggest client said, "We've booked Jamil directly because he told me that he's not on your books and you hadn't put him on your books." And I thought, oh, punch in the stomach. So yeah, right. So if you go too early, you will get rejected.
And I think there's a balance, because it kind of leads to follow-on questions. Well, it feels like the cart before the horse. So what are your thoughts between, I suppose sometimes you can look and think the only way speakers get momentum is if they're in with these big names and these big brands. And if you're not there yet, then how do you get momentum? And so what do you say to somebody who's maybe stuck in that kind of catch-22 position? Is it about me figuring out the sales and marketing positioning and all of that sort of stuff, or do I hand it over to somebody else? Because it can feel like, well, I'm between a rock and a hard place here.
You nearly used a naughty word, I think, there.
I did. I was going to say flipping, to be honest.
Excellent, excellent. I personally think that anybody starting in this industry should do the sales and marketing for themselves first before they hand it over to anybody else. You do need to understand how it works before you can hand it over. And you should be setting up your own systems and processes in the business. That doesn't mean to say someone can't help you do that, but I really think you need to have that experience, because it takes a while when you're starting out before you actually get your proposition right, before you're able to talk about your topic, the outcome, the problem that you solve, before you get the language correct. And that takes practice. And it's easier for you to do it when you know your content than for somebody else to do it coming in. So I would say you need to start. That's not going to be a popular answer.
I mean, as somebody who did it that way, I would concur. There's a lot. There's a lot to be. Personally, I'd say there's a lot to be gained from refining your message. And the one thing I found was sometimes a little bit more challenging when you have an agent between you and the client, is you don't necessarily get that direct client feedback, and so it arguably slows down your ability to learn what's working, because you don't get to speak to the client as directly as you can when that, the relationship is between you and the client. So there's a lot to be said for having that direct relationship, because you can go that little bit deeper into research. Fantastic. So we're pretty much there, Maria. Is there anything that we've missed that you think people should be taking away from this session?
Well, normally we get asked this question, which I find a fascinating one, is, what are the trending topics, right? We normally get that one, right? And we haven't had that one, so I'm not going to answer it. No, I will. Actually, Chartwell Speaker Bureau, it's worth signing up to Bureau's email newsletters, by the way, did a fantastic newsletter only this week, telling us what the headline themes are for 2026 coming out of 2025. And I think they've got it spot on. So some of these will not be relevant to everybody here, but let me quickly read these. Geopolitics and strategic context remain central. Macro and markets demand actionable clarity. Security and cyber. Sustainability is now an operational challenge. Tech, AI, and regulation. Human performance, emotional intelligence, those matter. AI, cyber, regulation, sustainability. And again, they've said things like hybrid and integrate. There's a bit more detail in that. If anybody would like that email and they haven't got it, message me and I'll forward it to you so you can have the whole content on that, because I've just given you the main headlines there.
Fantastic. Simone or Elliot, can you drop into the chat Maria's LinkedIn profile? So if anybody wants to go and connect it with her, they can do so. And LinkedIn, because Maria's just told you, LinkedIn's the best place to book. And also a link to her book. So if anybody wants to go and grab themselves a copy of the Bookability Formula, I strongly recommend that you put that on your Christmas reading list. And maybe gift it to a few other speaker friends that you You can have a little
Those you don't
reading
like,
circle. you can have,
or
you can
those you
have
don't like.
you can have a reading circle amongst yourself. Maria, thank you so much. I want to take a moment before we move on to the next segment for people to just have a little think about what are you actually going to do with what you've just taken away. Maria's covered a heck of a lot. I mean, how we've extracted so much from her in 25 minutes. I think that's preparation. That's what that was. But I'd love to see in the chat some of the things that you're committing to doing, one or two things that you're committing to do as a result of listening to Maria, because otherwise we've just been sharing a lot of information, and information does not equal transformation in and of itself. So I want to just give you a little moment, and I want you to write these notes down, put it in your calendar. What time frame are you going to be doing it in? It can be as small as connecting, get onto Chartwell's website. It can be connecting with Maria, or it can be bigger. Relook at your website and your positioning. I don't mind how big or how small it is. What's most important is that you take a moment to take what you've just heard while it's fresh in your mind and write down at least 2 or 3 things you're absolutely going to do as a result of listening to this session. Oh, I'm loving this. We've got some good ones. What is a VoIP? It's a voice over internet. There's loads of voice over internet protocol, I think is what it's called. There's loads of them out there. I did some research on it recently.
Actually, let me share the one I use because it's really inexpensive, because somebody else asked. It's called yay.com. Isn't it a great name? Yay.com.
Yay.com,
Costs me
yay.com.
£7 a month. It's fantastic. And you can actually create a switchboard and have it direct to your PA or to you, or to go around to be. So I used to use it as a switchboard when I had a team. It's brilliant. They're based in Guildford.
Wonderful. There you go. For those of you who are, particularly those of you who are UK based, fantastic. So we're going to take I'm not an intermission. I'm going to hand over to Simone very quickly before we jump in to speak to Ben about AI. And he's going to tell us a little bit about the summit. It also gives you a bit of time to write those notes down. So Simone, over to you.
Yes, I'm here. So first of all, before we get going, I'd love to give a massive round of whoop whoops to the one and only Maria Franzoni again. Yeah, she's been absolutely fantastic in the session. Yeah, let this clap going. Also, want to welcome everyone that has just joined. Now, as Elliot hinted before, and in particular if you're watching on YouTube as well, remember now you can move to the main Zoom room. So there was a bit of an issue with Zoom that where more people couldn't come in. You should have received an email already first with the YouTube link, and then second, you should have received an email again with the direct Zoom link. So if you were one of these people that it was stuck on the waiting room trying to get in, first of all, thank you for waiting. We appreciate you and thanks you for being here. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And actually, if you were one of them, please let us know in the chat so then we can welcome you, because I know you have come in throughout Maria's presentation. Now, the good news is that yes, this is recorded. So whatever you've missed, you can go back in the recording, watch the first 25 minutes, 30 minutes that you have missed, and then catch up with the rest of the content. Deal? Deal. So thank you very much again for your patience with this. Now, what I want to talk about before we move to the next two speakers, because we're going to have Ben Gold talking about AI, and then we're going to have an incredible session on websites for speakers. We said about, Maria said about how important websites are for speakers. I want to let you know a bit more about the Speaker Summit, our live event that will happen on the 3rd of July in London. Now, if you already been to the Speaker Summit, or either in the previous 4 edition, because it's going to be our 5th year, can you please share in the chat what you loved about it? Because I know we have a lot of people that already maybe have already pre-booked their ticket for 2026, but also have been here before. We can see every bloody thing. Thank you, Andy. Probably Andy's on the cruise right now. An amazing event. I mean, Ben flew from the US, coming to the UK from that event, and that's also why we asked him to speak, talking about commitment as well. Love the energy you have pre-booked already. Yvette, the energy, the connection and information. Abby, the community. We are big believers in the community. So I'm gonna put a link in the chat that I invite you to check out now. because we have the best price that you can get at this stage for the 2026 Speaker Summit, which will happen on the 3rd of July in central London. We're going to put the link also a few times as well. Now, the reason why I strongly believe in the Speaker Summit and what's unique about it is that there are a lot of places for speakers that how can I say, where the standard is low. I gotta be honest about it. And if you've been in the speaking industry for a while, you might have seen it yourself. I've been in this industry now for 14 years. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of this industry. And there is one thing that both Lovelda, Elliot, Maria, and everyone that is involved have in common is excellence. We want to be excellent in what we do. We don't take speaking for granted. This is our life. This industry is our life. And if you are that kind of person, then you have found your home. This is why we have created this place. And also, when we talk about community, I strongly believe in the power of community. I strongly believe in the power of getting people together. I mean, I'm Italian. What can I say? It's in my blood, right? Is it me? Is it me about bringing people together? We are getting people out for a meal. And community means being inclusive, and also community means sharing. This is what real community is. And so we wanted to create a space where at the moment you walk in, you feel welcome. And I think that anyone that is shared already in the chat, they said the sense of community, how welcome they feel. And this is the kind of space we want to create. But also there is something that I mean, my business has been between the 250,000 to the half a million at least for the past 7 years or 8 years in a row. And if there is one thing that really helped me be in this kind of range in terms of speaking, and I know there are speakers that are doing even way better than me, but it's to really understand the industry. Because if I'm in an industry, I need to understand how it works. I need to understand how it works from the back door, behind the scene, because then I know how to navigate it. And this is what we wanted to provide. It's like, okay, let's open the curtain. What's happening in the speaking industry? What really works? Not the things that you see on social media because someone spoke at 2 events and now they teach speakers, right? But it's like what comes from the event professionals, what comes from the people that are actually making buying decision, what comes from the people that are actually writing the check and pay you. This is what the Speaker Summit is about. And the final thing is about possibility. Uh, I think we are victim to our own limitation, of our own limitations. Let me know if you agree with me on this. Can be victim of our own limitation. Like whatever I see possible is what I can achieve. And every time I put myself in a room that helped me see a better or a bigger or a wider version of myself, my business expanded, but also I expanded as a person. And so part of what we are doing is to expand what's possible. Because if your vision expands of what's possible or what's possible for you as a speaker in the industry, then your business will expand with your vision. And so we wanted to bring everything together, and that's what the Speaker Summit is about. And the goal is to be future ready. You know, the world is changing. The world is changing so fast. I mean, I cannot keep up, people. I don't know if you're like me, but I can't keep up. And the people that will prepare themselves for the future, the speakers that will prepare themselves for the future, which is going to be very different from what we have seen so far, they're going to be the people that will get booked. They're going to be the people that will get the gigs. They're going to be the speakers that will be known, and they will going to be the speakers that will get recognized. And if you are in this industry because you want to make a bigger difference, they're going to be the speakers that are going to make the biggest difference. And so, if you're right now you're experiencing some of these challenges in your business with like inconsistent bookings, like you get a booking here and a booking there, but it's not consistent, or you cannot really stay relevant and stay ahead of the curve, and you found a bit like spinning too many plates. That your strategy is unclear, like a spinning plate here, left, right, and center. Then the Speaker Summit will give you not only the information, but a community, the vision, and the excellence for you to be able to solve these issues. Also, the other part is that the speaking industry is an industry that is linked to connection, is a referral heavy industry. You can ask anyone that has a successful speaking business or a bureau or an agent or an event organizer. They hire on connections. So the connections that you make are the biggest ones. And what we wanted to give you is access to bookers. And what we wanted to give you is access to people that can actually make the buying decisions. And on top of that, making sure that you have a strong positioning, as Maria said, like not to be no, you need to be to show what you do and how you do it and how you are different from other, and then give you that community. And that's why we have created the Speaker Summit. So it is going to be London on the 3rd of July, and these are the different tickets that we have. At the end, I'm going to give a bit more information. I'm going to give you the detail of every single ticket at the end. But I just wanted you to know. So the link is in the chat, and we have 3 different tickets. The first one is the standard ticket, which gives you access to the event for a full day on the 3rd of July with all the talks, the speakers, and we curate the event based on what our community wants. This is something special about us, that every single speaker that we hire, every single session that we create, is because we listen to you. We listen to what you want, we listen to what you're struggling with, and we are giving it to you. So we are not second guessing it. So you can expect that we are going to hit the mark on this event. Then, of course, you're going to have lunch. We're going to have our belly full, people. Otherwise, we can learn that well. So you're going to have lunch included. You're going to meet with a panel, the speaker bookers, the planners, the agents, the people that are making buying decision, and then also you're going to have access to experts workshops. So specific deep dive workshops on different areas of your speaking business. So if you want to go for the first ticket, is 297 plus VAT. Now, what we've decided to do, because one of the comments that we receive consistently during the event was, we wish we had more. This is the one thing that we keep hearing over and over again. We wish we had more. We wish we had more time to implement. So we have decided to launch our Summit Plus. Last year was the first time we did it, and it was an incredible success because after the event, you have 3 months of extra support, a private community, an expert session to continue building the momentum and the energy that you got from the live event. So as you can see, instead of paying 997 plus VAT, it's going to be 447 plus VAT as part of our Black Friday offer. And then finally, this is only for 12 people. We have our VIP session and our VIP ticket. This is for speakers that they really want to go places, and they are already going places. What's going to happen is that the day before the summit, so on the 2nd of July, we will have an extra day, luxury champagne lunch, right? So we're doing this in style as well. And you're going to have a private meeting and a private mastermind with speaker agents, speaker bookers, and the bureau's owners. And you can ask them the direct questions about your specific situation, about your specific speaking business. And this is having that personalized touch in your business that you will not get at the main event. And we have only 12 seats, and these are the tickets that they sell the fastest, by the way. Last time, as soon as we launched them, about 10 of them, they went away in the first hour. So if you are the kind of speaker and you say, actually, I can see the value of meeting privately in a smaller group with other people that play at my level, that are going all in, and also with the other bureaus and agents where you can build a direct relationship with them, then the VIP ticket is for you. So instead of paying 2,000 plus VAT, is 1,250 plus VAT. So I'm going to put now again the link, and I can see Chris Tuck, she did the VIP yesterday, last time, and I recommend it. Thank you, Chris. You can see here, the link is in the chat. We're going to answer any question at the end about the Speaker Summit, about all the tickets. If you have questions at the end, you can let us know. But then now we can keep going with the main show. And that's the offer, by the way, is valid until the 1st of December. So December 1st. On Monday, that's where we are going to close the discount on the tickets. The final thing as well that I forgot to say is that we only have 220 tickets available because we already have sold more than 80 on the pre-sale. And so we only have 220 left because the capacity of the room is 300. Now, back to my wife, Lovelda Vincenzi, for the next session. Lovelda, back to you.
Thanks. We also had a question in the chat about the theme for this year. This is a prequel to this year's theme. We're going to be looking at the future of the speaking industry, will be the theme for the year. So yeah, if you were interested in what the theme is, there's a reason we prequeled it. Think of this as the little taster plate before we jump into the juiciness. Give me a thumbs up if you've been receiving a ton of value from this so far. Either drop it in the chat or, yeah, fantastic. Little note. So we said that this is a pitch-free zone, and we've noticed that the odd one or two pitches in the chat. I'm going to give you fair warning. The chat is a beautiful place, and we'd love for you all to connect with each other, get to know each other more, etc., etc. But if we see consistent messages in here selling a book or a course or literally anything else, you'll get a single warning. And then if you do it again, unfortunately, we will be removing you from the chat. And it's mainly because this is a value-led space. We really want everybody to be here. We're putting a lot in. Our speakers are really sharing so fully from their hearts to support you today. And we want to keep it like that. We have no problems with you connecting with each other and doing business with each other outside of the chat, but please don't jump in here and just start like spamming the chat with your offers. I'm sure they're amazing, but this is not the place for it. So, okay.
Or we'll kick you out.
So the Lavelda who's telling everybody off is done now. Back to fun. So who here's got questions about AI? Who's finding that AI is one of those things where you're kind of in, kind of out, not quite sure, maybe I should be doing it, but I'm kind of using it, but I don't know if it's effective. Maybe you're a little bit nervous about AI, overwhelmed, Matt says, by AI. There's lots of them out there nowadays, and it is changing the way that we're looking at the industry. So I'm so excited to say that we're about to be talking about AI tools that actually help speakers. And this session is going to be a little bit different in so much as there will be a bit of screen sharing. We're going to go through some of the basics, but we're also going to jump into some of the AIs that are out there and give you some really practical, strategic, tactical ways that you can be using AI. Our next speaker is an AI strategist and keynote speaker with over 20 years of experience in technology. He helps companies translate AI complexity into accessible strategies and provide really practical solutions. Please give an incredible warm round of applause to Ben Gold.
Hello.
Welcome.
It is great to be here, Lavelda.
We are so excited to have you here, like the other side. Look, I love all the emojis. It's going like nuts in here. So AI is one of these, it feels like it's a recent contender. In the last sort of 12 to 18 months in particular, it has dialed up. It feels like everybody's using it, and some people have figured it out and other people are just kind of throwing stuff in it and hoping for the best with very, very mixed results. And it is transforming the way that people are searching, as Maria kind of alluded to before, but also the way people are making decisions. And it's one of those things that I don't think we can hide from as speakers. But I don't want to make assumptions that everybody has the same understanding of AI. So I kind of want to go sort of pull back a little bit and start with some of the basics. So maybe do you mind just taking a moment to maybe give us a basic overview of AI, so at least we have the same grounding in terms of the best approaches that we should be taking and how it actually really works? Because I know I've been piecing it together slowly and possibly not 100% right.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. And the biggest mistake that I see when people are talking about AI is I go into a lot of companies, and I also work with solopreneurs in many different domains. And through my relationship with Maria, by the way, has a great book. Okay, can I pitch that book at least? I've learned how to use AI from a speaker's point of view. The biggest thing I see is that most people are using less than 10% of what the capabilities are. So I'll typically say, how do you use it? And they'll say, well, I use ChatGPT to write emails, to maybe create some images and summarize documents. And that is a very small part of what AI can do. And that's why the other part of this is that you don't have to be technical to master. I am not a coder. I'm not a data scientist. My son has tried to teach me Python and is very unsuccessful. But what I'm good at is I look at the business use cases of AI, and I have a subscription, and I'm curious. So I'm always out uh, analyzing or spending time in the different apps. I will tell you, in the last 2 weeks, there's been mind-bending changes. Both Google came out with the 3.0, their Gemini 3.0, ChatGPT came out with 5.1, Claude came out with the Opus 4.5. I know those are worthless numbers, but in the industry, they kind of indicate changes. But each of them, I've tried all of the models. They are exponentially better. And so the things that I can do today are very different than 2 weeks ago. And that's the point, is that the only thing you need to do to get started is I'll give you some tips on where to get started and to focus on a lot of the large language models and really just get your basics out there.
Fantastic. So we're only using 10%, which kind of brings me to, I think the reason that I might only be using 10% is because I don't really get it. When I say I don't really get it, it was this thing. And then somebody said, go in and it does all of this stuff for you. So we've just kind of been bumbling along trying to figure out how it works. So what would you say are the core foundations that make AI actually work? Like, if we were to take a few steps back so that we can create output that's really relevant, what do we need to fundamentally understand about the way AI works so that we have that basic springboard to move forward from?
Here, I'm going to share my screen, and I have 3 slides presented, so this is not going to be death by PowerPoint. And that is a great question. So first of all, when we are talking about if I'm going to summarize, and last month I was doing a presentation with Jennifer Vessels, and this was she asked me to put it in 1 slide. And I'm really thankful, because when people come to me and they say, Ben, my AI is hallucinating, it doesn't get me, it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, then I will say you're doing one of these 3 things wrong. So when you look at great output, you're going to want, first of all, context. So ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, they have trillions of data points about the world. Everything on the internet is out there, but they don't know who you are. And therefore, it's really important to gather your own structured and unstructured data, meaning recording your conversations, taking all of your thought leadership, because everyone on this call has something unique. And by recording it, by documenting it, you can then query AI, and it can help you to extract what is it that your superpower is. The second is prompting. So after you've got the data, explain to the AI what to do with it. That is the second part. And it's half art, half science. You'll learn through trial and error. One of the things that is my strength is I teach people how to fail in a safe environment with AI so that they can test and they can learn. And they say, wait, I got a hallucination. Well, let's redo it, and let's get it so it does it gives you the output you want. And finally, the model. And this is becoming less important, because if you're using a base large language model, and that is going to be ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or Microsoft Copilot, those are the big 4. If you're using a base model, I don't recommend using your primary information in what is called a wrapper. A wrapper would be something like Perplexity or some other tool that has a integration. I want to be working directly with these models, because when they come out with a new improvement, I want to immediately go in and start testing them. Now, the second part is, people underestimate how much value you can get out of data. Before ChatGPT came out, which, by the way, we're hitting the 3-year anniversary on Sunday, November 30th, 2022 is when ChatGPT was launched, and that's called the ChatGPT moment. We really only looked at structured data. We looked at Salesforce or certain Excel spreadsheets. This is how sales teams, how marketing teams were evaluating their progress. What generative AI does is it allows us to take email conversations, transcripts, and other kinds of data point and give you real value. And I'll show you some examples as we go into this. And this is really important to just remember how important it is to gather the data of who you are. And finally, a lot of people ask, what are the tools I need? What I'm going to show you here is for less than 150 a month, you would be able to have a full toolkit to be able to succeed. Now, on the left side, we have the large language models. I'm now making a change, which I haven't done in the 2.5 years I've been a consultant for AI, but I'm going to put Gemini and ChatGPT at the same level. As a matter of fact, Sam Altman made a statement that I think he's acknowledged that Gemini's movement from 2.5 to 3.0 has leapfrogged ChatGPT for the first time. So that I would put that on the radar, and I'll show you guys some mind-bending capabilities inside of Gemini. But you want to have and I work with three. I work with Gemini, Claude, and ChatGPT for different reasons. The second is an AI note taker. You absolutely positively should record every single conversation, internal, external. I know that in Europe and other places, there's a question about GDPR as well as getting, I'm not saying record people in a way that you're secretly hiding it. I will disclose every time I record a conversation, but I record every possible conversation I can because that data allows me to mine it to give very, very specific responses, proposals, because the AI has all the information it needs. Now, those are the two basic ones. And if you master just the large language models and AI note takers, you should be able to save, as a solopreneur, at least a day and a half of administrative work you do in a week, just by mastering those two. Now, the other two, personality apps and research apps, I'm going to demo in a minute. Those are going to be really good for when you have an opportunity, like when you've got a speaking opportunity and you really want to hone in your preparation for the conversation. You want to do research on the company. You want to put together a proposal, and you want to basically follow the rules in Maria's book. Again, the bookability formula is, for me, is my roadmap, but I just use AI to amplify, to be easier to work with, to make my message more powerful, to be more memorable by having AI amplify my voice.
Ben, we've had a really interesting question in the chat from John, who asks, have you found that people and speakers are using AI instead of doing their own research, meaning that the outcomes are beginning to seem all sort of samey? I think there's always this question of AI's, you mentioned the word amplify, but I think there's also this question of, if everybody's using it, how do we use it in a way that differentiates us rather than makes everybody sound and look exactly the same because we're all using the same source data?
Well, let me do this. I'll show this to you, because that's my next part, is how do you use AI to amplify your voice? And again, this is, so I'm going to share with you a set of examples here, and we'll start with this idea, okay, of what we call custom AI agents. Now, these are non-coding, but I'm going to show you some examples how this works, both ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini. In ChatGPT, you have projects and GPTs. They're very similar. But the way that you're able to make your voice heard is by giving it your information. So, for example, this is a client of mine that I've serviced over the summer. And I have a project where I've got these are all the documents that are associated with that client. That way, when we're talking, again, think of the context is here. And within ChatGPT, they have a concept called instructions, which is basically a long chat. So when you use a custom AI agent, think of it as a difference. If you do just a chat and you start, it's like you met somebody last night at a networking event and you're having to explain, my name is Ben, I do this. When you use a custom AI agent, it's like you're talking to your best friend. You explain to it who you are, what you do, why you do it, how you do it, what makes you different. And sometimes I'll give it information, I'll have it tell me that. But now you're able to go in here and have a chat that's much more intimate and much more meaningful. Now, this is Gemini. Gemini has a concept of gems. A gem is very similar. It has instructions, which is your chat, or is your prompt, and the knowledge is your context or the documents you upload. And Claude is the same way, where they have a projects, they use instructions, which is your prompt, and files. So how do I do this? I'm going to show you an example, because when we're talking about, for example, becoming memorable, as Maria said, getting your LinkedIn voice out there, I have a specific project only on LinkedIn creation. The way I built it is, first of all, I put inside of the files, for example, these are recent studies on AI deployment. This was a ChatGPT deep research. And what it was I asked it to go through and tell me about McKinsey and Gartner, so that when I make a post, I'm going to be able to sprinkle in actual data points that are there. I have my customer testimonials here. These are from transcripts. And then I have the voice of the prospect. These are my sales calls where I was able to understand what are the things that the marketplace is asking for. I have my 10 commandments for LinkedIn posting. This is my structure of how all my posts are going to be. So the reason I'm going through this, and again, the instructions here, and by the way, the way you build your instructions is my first chat will be, I want you to build my instructions. In this example, you're my LinkedIn content creation expert. I give it everything about these are my metrics. This is my target audience. These are the posts that I'm looking for. Here are the kinds of hooks, and again, I go through and explain exactly why I'm writing. Now, I do this because I want to spend less than 2 hours a week to post my content. I don't have 8 hours to come up with ideas. So give you an example here that once you do this, so I was at an event about a month ago. It was a wonderful one with the top industry leaders. And so what I did was, and let me just make this up here, you can see that I can now just say, come in here and say, write a post about the fact I'm attending the Marketing AI Institute Makeup. So I can type 3 or 4 sentences and boom, it creates exactly why I'm there, what I'm tracking, what I want to get out of this. But then I recorded the sessions. So this is Paul Raitzer, one of my my North Star. He gave an amazing talk. I put the transcript, but I have also, this is my take on it, and boom. So I was able, in the airport, on my way back home, to do an entire week and a half worth of post, because I just was able to use this as a system. So I want to share with you, this is my voice, my ideas. I'm mentioning the speakers, mentioning them, I'm giving them total credit, but I'm putting my spin and thought leadership. And so that's a way where you're able to go beyond the generic content.
I love that. And I love that you shared some of the things that you input. So, linking back to those sales calls, linking back to testimonials. Maria spoke about testimonials earlier as well. If you've got those testimonials and they're not being, that context isn't in your AI, then you're not going to get that in there. If you've got thought leadership, if you've done research, if there are research papers, people that you work with, or you aspire to be to, or are the people that you follow the most, if that context isn't in there, your voice kind of gets lost and it all sounds very similar. I also caught that you use ChatGPT in this particular instance to do deep dive research, to find articles of which you could then scan through and say, well, these are the ones that I really resonate with, these ones here not so much, and navigate it that way round. So there's a lot in there. I can see the clapping and the chat's going quite well. So I can see now why you say record those calls, because the amount of context, especially the sales calls that you're having with people, the amount of context about who you're working with, how you work with them, what they typically want, that would be missed. And trying to get that out of your head into an AI when you could just take a recording or a transcript and load it into a chat or a project is really quite helpful. Right. Gary asks, if you've been using, let's say, he says ChatGPT, but I suppose it could be any AI tool. So you've got your preferred one you've been using for a while. How easy is it to switch to something else? So, there's this feeling that I've trained this one already, it knows me, but now Ben's told me Gemini is really good and I'm kind of wanting to go and use Gemini, but it feels like a really big hurdle to leap through. You have a few different ones you're using, and sometimes they do, they do different things. How quick and easy is it to move from one to another?
I love to do that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you in a second how I do that. But it's understanding, like I think ChatGPT deep research and analysis is the best. Claude is where I get my where I can explain who I am the best. But I don't recommend newbies to use Claude. I recommend to start with ChatGPT. Gemini has put some amazing improvements and can help you do some things that are really amazing. So let me maybe go to the next part here, where another element is that while when we get to that point, so let's say you've used this, you've got your thought leadership, and you start getting invited for opportunities. I like to share with you how I use AI to close deals. So for example, in November, I was in Serbia. I had this opportunity to work with an investment real estate firm to do an all-day workshop, and they were a Google Gemini shop. And it was through a speaker bureau, and I can walk you through the process. I'm for confidentiality, I'm not going to show you the data that I did with that client, but I'm going to show you how I go about closing deals. And the way to do this is we'll take, for example, somebody that we know, respect, admire, Maria Franzoni, and I'm going to walk you through. If I were to have an upcoming call and I didn't know who she was, there is a tool called Humantic AI. This is $50 a month. What it does is a personality analysis in less than 10 seconds. So when we're talking about unstructured data, imagine this, that I go on to LinkedIn, so I've got an upcoming call. I can understand what her personality overview is, what are the topics that she cares about. The fact that the media appearances lets me know without even looking that she is very prolific. Then we go into, how should I sell to her? What should I do during a meeting? When I cold call, what should I do? And how should I write an email? And then the disc profile. So just in 10 seconds, look at all the information I've got. But let's go to a next level. Inside of LinkedIn, when you click the More button, you got Save to PDF. So I can have now her resume. So you've got resume personality analysis. So when I have an upcoming call, that's my first go-to, is I gather this. Now I'll share with you, you mentioned this, and I want to walk you through ChatGPT deep research. A lot of people, I'll say, have you done deep research with ChatGPT? And of course I'll say, sure, but really they didn't. Deep research is when you click the plus button and you click deep research. It is a different animal. It is a PhD level analysis of a company. So I'll give you an example. I had an opportunity with Jimmy. They do inflatables. And I was told the day before, you're meeting with the HR director. They want training, and you need to figure it all out. So for me, when I do my research, this takes me 10 minutes. I said, help me understand as much as I can about the culture, leadership, products, innovations, news, and anything about AI. I put the transcript so you can upload inside of deep research. If you have a transcript or any kind of documentation, I give it also the URL. And so the question was, well, with ChatGPT deep research, it comes back with questions because it wants to make sure that it's researching the right thing. And what you'll see here is I gave it the answers, and boom. Just take a look at this. This is a 100-employee company. This is their cultures and values, leadership team and philosophy, core products, services, and innovation. So I know what they do. I don't ask them the simple level questions. As a matter of fact, one of the big issues they had is the fact that they get a lot of their products from China, so the tariffs impacted them. So these are the kinds of things that I can anticipate what we're going to talk about beforehand. So for example, with this opportunity in November, what happened was I did this level of analysis. I then was able to, after I met with the company, I then will be able to take the transcript. So I will use Fireflies here. And in Fireflies, I've got all my transcripts. I can download them. I do not use the AI in Fireflies. I download it and I upload it into my AI, whether that's ChatGPT or Claude. And what ends up happening is that now I begin this is my Jemmy as one of my clients. I now have all of my conversations, and I I ended up meeting with the top 9 leaders, and each of them I would record the conversation. I have now a very detailed analysis of what each person needs. I have an analysis of what the company needs, and I'm able to not only perform a configured presentation, but I'm able to prep myself for when I'm going to consult with them afterwards, because I now have all the data of how they work. Now, I want to show you something, and then I'm happy to put this back into words, because this is something I know I talked to you, Lavelda, beforehand. I have to show you something that'll blow your mind, everybody's mind here. Okay. So there is something called Notebook LM. If you don't have if you have a Google or a Gmail account, it's a Google product. It is amazing. Now, Notebook LM it's been around for about a year and a half, but in the last week it made some amazing changes. So I'm about to do some rebranding, and I'm putting together a program for January. And I had met last week with a friend of mine who's a career consultant. I taught him AI, but he was able to build an amazing business. And he started 18 months ago, and in the last calendar year, he's going to do over 300K. And I just said to him, how did you scale? What did you do? And he said, I use Alex Hermosi, who has this book called $100 Million Offers. So what I did was I said, okay, I'm gonna learn about Hermosi. So I got his audiobook. I did ChatGPT deep research. But now when I go through the audiobook, instead of taking notes, when I hit something that I'm interested in, I go into ChatGPT and I say, expand upon Hermosi's value equation proposition. And then what I did was I threw that into Claude. And so Claude has my three offers, basically a light touch, done with you and done for you. And I said, now layer on top this new piece of information and change my offers. So I did that iteration, going through the book, going through ChatGPT, going to Claude, and I created 2 documents, the programs that I was going to put together, and then this. So on the left side are the documents. So I started with these 2. Now, the Notebook LM, you'll notice over here, you can create a podcast, you can create a video, you can create flashcards, quizzes, but they just added infographic and slide deck. So let me just show you what I was able to do in less than 2 days, something that I thought was going to take me 2 weeks to do. So literally just taking those pieces of information, it created an infographic that is very like this is not my final, but this is about 80% there. Okay, so it put it into one page. Now, the second thing that it did, which was absolutely mind-blowing, is it created a slide deck. But it's not just that it was a slide deck. What it did was it ended up adding images I had not thought of. It started adding, for example, this idea of building your foundation. It added visualizations. It began to put it like not only knew where I wanted to go, it anticipated it. It was able to give me value propositions I hadn't thought of. Okay, so the point is that I was going to be 2 weeks, I had figured this was going to take me at least 2 or 3 weeks to get to this point, and I'm already there on day 2. And now what I'm going to do is I've just got to go through and refine, but you have to try it. You have to get your hands dirty and just do this. Throw a transcript into Notebook LM and watch the magic. So that is, I think I'll stop sharing my screen. I imagine there's probably a few questions out there.
Wow, Ben, I'm watching the chat. People are like, you're like, your mind's about to be blown. They're like, it's already blown. It's already blown. We've already hit mind blowing. We're a little bit over time. I'd love to ask you more questions, but I think what you've shown has really demonstrated to people the art of the possible. And I'm hoping, I want people, while we're sitting here, I want you to chop into the chat what you're going to be doing next, because I'm hoping that your minds have been opened to a new world of possibility as speakers as to how to take AI beyond writing content for LinkedIn, and how you might want to start playing with some of these new platforms. Ben, for people who want to connect with you, and I'm pretty sure there's quite a few because there's more questions dropping in the chat, and I wish we had time to dive deeper. So firstly, if Elliot or Simone, can you drop Ben's LinkedIn profile into the chat so that people can connect directly with him for more conversations. And I understand for people who want to dive a little bit deeper, you've got a little something coming around the corner, just a little something.
Yep. So in January, I'm going to start a program designed for solopreneurs and small businesses. And just to direct message me on LinkedIn, connect and direct message if you're interested in that, because that's been the hard part, is to figure out how to leverage myself. And with these tools that I've got, I'm starting next year to build out programs that are low cost for you, but are also where I'm able to share my thought leadership without having to do it personally for each person. And so you get the value, and I'm really excited about it. And again, I thank you so much. I just want to say one final thing. Last year, this summer, I was at the event. Everybody on this call, you need to go to London next summer. I learned so much from Lovelda and Simona and Maria and everybody else that was on stage.
Thank you so much, Ben. I have notes. And Elliot. You learned a lot from Elliot too, right, Ben?
I am so sorry, Elliot. Yes, and Elliot, who told me that all I'm gonna do is a fireside chat. And I thought I was going to be drinking hot cocoa by the fire, having a conversation, but this is a lot better. So
Ben, thank you so much. Let's see your folks, let's see your ideas in the chat. Next steps whilst we get ready for our last segment of today. If you have not yet got your ticket for the summit, like I told you, this is a teaser. We've got 25-minute segments. I'm having to blast through these, and there's definitely time, an opportunity for you to come along and spend a whole day with us. We've got the summit, we've got Summit Plus. You can extend it for an extra few months and really have further deep dives for a lot longer period of time with the experts that we connect with. This is simply a taster. So if you haven't already got your ticket and you're interested, drop it in. There's a link in the chat. Head over to the link and make sure that you get your ticket. The sale ends on the 1st of December. So you've got a little bit of time, but they go fast. We do, and this is the best price you're going to get it now. The next time we open the sales up again, it will be more expensive. So if you're curious and you want to make it work, then please do. So next up, we have websites. The future of speaker websites. Maria spoke about it. We've talked about how websites and AI are kind of connecting going forward. So our next speakers are known for helping speakers simplify their online presence and build sites that actually get them booked. And who doesn't want a site that's doing some of the heavy lifting for us? They have over 20 years of experience creating websites that convert, and they are the co-founders of Ready Steady Websites, a studio specializing in high-performing websites for speakers and experts. Please give them both a warm round of applause. We have Chris and Jude. Welcome.
Woo, 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 woo.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
It's like a duo. I love it. Absolutely.
Well, we're rocking the husband and wife teams today, aren't we? Really?
Right?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, two for the price of one. Buy one, get one free.
two husband and wife teams for the price of one husband and wife team. So I'm going to dive straight in because I'm finding we're extracting a lot. So I'm like, we're going to move fast. Get your pens at the ready, folks. Now let's talk websites for speakers. So if we had to look at the speaking world right now, what would you say has changed with how speakers' websites actually need to function? Because way back in the day, you'd be told that a website was like a brochure, but I'm guessing it's moved on since then.
Yeah, it's moved on a lot since then. I think there's got to be kind of two elements to your website now, that when someone comes to it, it's got to be instantly obvious what it is that you speak about, what people are going to get out of booking you, why they want to book you. And there's got to be clear call to actions on there. You've got to make it really easy for them to get in contact with you, to make inquiries, to maybe book in a call, whatever is your preferred way that you want people to contact you. Like Maria said at the start, putting a phone number on there is really key now. So all of those things have to be on there. It has to be like a really useful tool for the booker or the event organizer who's going to rock up to your website. But it should be making life easier for you as well. So if people want to book you, they are then going to want to know what your requirements are on the day. They're going to need to have bios about you. They're going to need to have headshots of you. All of those things, they should all be on your website as well, in an easy to download press pack. So you're not having to do all that work, giving them all that information every time. They're not having to go and search for it and keep asking you for the things that they need. It can all be there. They're all the kinds of things that you need to think about, that this is a really useful resource for you. It's not just, like you said, that brochure, that nice few fluffy words, nice few images. And I think it's really got to showcase what you do as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, obviously video is really important, especially for speakers. You want to be able to see your topics, your personality, and make sure you really kind of sell what you do. And obviously the website is the easiest place to do that, because you're in 100% control of what's on your website and everything on there, really. So yeah.
I like that word resource, because there's a number of things that you spoke about that I don't think would necessarily automatically jump to everybody's mind to add onto the website. So as soon as you start to say your website isn't just a sales tool per se, but it's actually a resource for bookers, you can then take a few steps back and think longer term in terms of your whole sales cycle, rather than just thinking about what do I need at the front end. How do I use this website to help my clients get what they need once they've booked me? So I love that little mindset shift to think a little bit beyond the booking. Before we get into trends, what are some core basics about speaker websites that speakers still miss? I mean, you talk about, you've seen a ton of them, and there might be some things that you think, by now I would think that would be obvious, but it appears that a lot of people are still missing certain things, because it can be quite daunting to do a website.
I think one of the key things is, and it's not just speakers that do this, but a lot of people do it, is they think that their website's all about them. So they'll launch into this, I've got this many years of experience and la la la, and they just sort of launch into their autobiography on their homepage. And the website isn't about you, it's about what you can do for other people. It is about your client, your booker who's coming to it, and what is it that they want to see on there. That they are going to want to know about your experience. They are going to want to know about, what's led you to where you are today. All of those things are important, but not straight away. Straight away, it's like, right, I'm going to show them what they're going to get from booking me. I'm going to show them the outcome it's going to have for those people in the room with me then and there. And I think falling into that trap of, here I am, and you want to know all this lovely stuff about me, isn't going to do you any favors. And I think it's a mistake we still see happening over and over again. So getting into that mindset of like thinking about your website and thinking, what do people actually want to know when they come here, and sort of switching it around and making it about your client and your booker, I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think websites are a little bit more different from the average website, because they obviously are a little bit more ego driven, because it's about the person. But I think, like you said, it's more about the personality and the experience and the storytelling than it is about the ego. And if you can convey that on the website, which you should be able to do with brand, with tone, voice, with using video, making it easy for people to use, you've kind of got all the boxes ticked, really.
It also links back to that ROI piece that Maria said right at the beginning. And, what you've said here is really lead with what the outcome is that the buyer's going to get, that your client's going to get, rather than leading with, pick me, here I am, like a Shrek, what was it, the donkey from Shrek, pick me, I'm amazing. Linked to that, there's a question here from Anna Hemming. She asked, when talking about what you do, the value of the offer and the outcomes that you solve, should that content be written in the first or the third person? Because I think that's something that trips people up.
I think, Maria is a big fan of the third person, so that's what we tend to follow. And I think it's easier to describe yourself in the sort of third person when you're kind of selling yourself, and then it does seem less ego driven as well, I think.
Yeah, and whatever Maria says goes, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
So third person would be the answer to that.
Yes.
When we spoke to prepare for this, you introduced to me this really interesting concept of a digital ecosystem rather than a standalone website. And to me, I don't think I've ever heard it said like that before. We talk about social media, and then we talk about the website, and then we talk about our video. But this idea of thinking about a digital ecosystem was something new. What does that look like for a speaker in 2026 and beyond? What do we mean nowadays when you're talking about a digital ecosystem?
So, well, firstly, I want to say we sort of borrowed this term from our friends at a digital visibility company called Yellow Tuxedo. I feel I have to give them a shout out for the digital ecosystem term. But what it means is that you need to have your website. Your website should be in the core, in the center of your digital ecosystem. It is the place that you should be sending everywhere everyone to, when they want to find out more about you, when they're interested in you, and you want that's going to showcase everything you do and then lead them on to getting in touch with you, booking you, finding out more. But you can't just rely on your website. Like, as we have been saying throughout today, there are so many ways that people can be finding you out there, that your website isn't necessarily going to come up if someone's choosing to use AI to find a speaker that talks about X, Y, and Z. You're not necessarily going to come up with your website, or are very unlikely to. But if you have got a digital presence in a range of places that are all pointing back to your website, people are much more likely to find you and end up on your website anyway. So we've said that video it's an obvious one for speakers to be using. I mean, it is one that people love at the moment, but if you have got a YouTube channel, make sure that you're regularly putting things on there, especially using YouTube Shorts, maybe alongside other long form content that you've got on there as well, because shorts are surfaced as suggestions much more than longer form videos. Showing that you are a thought leader, and that you've got this knowledge base and this wealth of knowledge that people want to tap into on LinkedIn is another fantastic place to be. And then do use other social platforms if they work for you, if they are where you like being, if they're where people who are going to want to book you are likely to be as well. And having this sort of plethora of different places that you're appearing is going to make you much more likely to get seen. And then do keep pointing everyone back to your website. You want the traffic coming to your website, because that is then going to help your search engine optimization. And yeah, that is how we sort of explain it to people, and it works. It really does.
Yeah.
I've got a follow-on question from that, and it very much links to a question I've seen in the chat from Sean Young, who asks, how do I go about making a speaker site that gets bookers calling me? So there's a kind of components that you put on, but ultimately what we're looking for is content that getting ourselves found. We've just heard from Ben around AI. How do we look at our website so it actually gets us booked?
I think it's a very kind of difficult conversation, really, and obviously the whole SEO game has completely been turned on its head since AI sort of came out, and a lot of people are talking about AI SEO and how that impacts things. And there's various different ways that different systems work, with AI being built into Google and people using ChatGPT and Claude as their search as well. Like you said, being across all those different platforms helps with that kind of thing. But in terms of kind of actually when they get to the website itself, it needs to be written in a way that is going to be compelling. It needs to be written to that ideal customer, like ideal avatar, ideal customer, however you want to frame it. It's got to be towards that person, so you're actually speaking to them in that voice, the voice that you would use to present on stage. I think a lot of people forget about that individual that they want to talk to about their business and about how things work and how they can transform them, and they concentrate more on the kind of sales piece. The more kind of human and natural and organic it feels on the website, the more compelling it becomes.
And I think having your show reel front and center as well, like that's what people are going to want to see, because they're going to come to your website and they are going to want to know your experience and how you're going to transform people's lives once they've heard you speak and everything like that. But they actually want to see that you can do it. Like it's all very well sitting there and typing on your website and saying what a wonderful speaker you are, but they want to see that you can actually deliver. So having your show reel there, very easy for people to watch, and get a real idea of a range of the work you do. So maybe you are comfortable doing stuff like this. You love doing speaking online, but equally you will stand on a stage in front of thousands of people. So if your show reel can convey that as well and show a range range of the settings that you speak in, whether you're happy to do the fireside chat type thing, or whether it is purely that you go for a speech to a room. You know, showcasing all of that will give a booker a much better idea of whether you are the person that they're looking for. And it has to be high quality. I think this is the key thing as well. If you are putting your show reel out there that you are great at doing these things, you have got to have the best bits from the speeches that you've done, filmed in a way that looks really professional, like it's really professional things that you're going and speaking at. That's all really key as well.
As well as the editing of the video as well, that's also important, because you can see through a kind of homespun kind of CapCut version as opposed to a professional editor as well.
Yeah, with sound levels that work. We got given a video recently to go on somebody's website, and oh my days, it would be the most irritating thing to watch, with like quiet talking, loud music over the top, music dies down, then someone shouting at you. If you were trying to watch that on their website, you'd be not booking them by the end, because I think they'd have annoyed you to the point of leaving. So don't do that.
I mean, I've always said to people, it's kind of like, there's a reason that 5-star hotels don't use IKEA furniture. If you're going to be charging top prices, then you probably need to put the edit in behind it. Otherwise, there's a real cognitive dissonance between what you're saying your fees are and how you're presenting yourself. So if you want to bump your fees up, I'm not really that sorry to tell you, you're probably going to have to invest more in some of these assets, because people will derive some idea of your fees from the assets that you have out. I'm loving the chat, because some of this chat is literally jumping ahead of my question. So I'm using people's answer questions in the chat to link back to the questions I'd already written. So Alessandro, the question I had was, what are bookers looking for nowadays when they land on a speaker's website? And is there or anywhere else on their speaker footprint? And Alessandro had asked a similar sort of question, slightly different. They'd asked, if you write a lot about your topic, books, articles, etc., you speak publicly often, and you have lots of industry experience, what is the order you should give to each of the items on your website? So what are people looking for, and is there a prioritization that we should be putting on the elements we put on our website?
I think you're going to want to, if you're wanting to get the bookings for your speaking, and that's the key thing that you're aiming for, you want to have your show reel front and center, and then talking about you as a speaker. But then having a books page, a separate books page on your website, is obviously fantastic. The fact that you've got books published and out there shows, like, gives you like a higher level of integrity around speaking about that topic. So definitely showcase those books on there. Give them links to go and buy those books, because it may be then that reading that book is the thing that makes them think, do you know what, they are right for me. I do want to book them as a speaker. So definitely showcase those books on your website as well. And then again, to sort of solidify the fact that you are an expert in your field, if you have got other things that you have written, if you've got things that can be turned into blog posts, having those on your website too are fantastic. And also having a blog is going to help with your search engine optimization, because that is still a thing. Obviously, AI is massive, but search engines are still being used by lots of people. But also having those blog posts, they're easy things to share to get people to your website in a conversational way, turning those into LinkedIn articles or LinkedIn newsletters as well, creating a mailing list and using that content to get people to your website through a mailing list too is fantastic. So yeah, utilizing all of those things is really important. And you can't have a website that you just put out there and just leave now. You've got to add that new content, keep giving people a reason to go there and keep checking you out.
Yeah, another thing about your website is you should be making it work harder for you as well. So I was thinking about a recent one that we did for a speaker, and she's a prolific article writer on LinkedIn, and I think she had, it's about 130 different LinkedIn articles. She did have a Squarespace site before she came to us, and it was just literally a massive page just full of links with no context behind them. So what we did is we actually broke these into little LinkedIn card formats with a little title on each, and we categorized them. So when you hit her page, her articles page, you can actually filter down by topic. So if you wanted to see child obesity related articles, you could find those. If you wanted to find something else, you could find those easily. So what that's done is that's actually made that content put it into context, but made it more surfaceable as well, but also driven people. I know it's away from the website. They've driven people into somewhere that she's prolific as a thought leader. So then they can go through LinkedIn and connect there and find more information out about her there as well. So that's another thing your website can do. It can really kind of work for you.
I love what you just said there, because it combines two things you mentioned earlier. Make it a resource, because adding that searchability actually does turn the website into a bit of a resource hub that's a useful place for people to want to go, and bake it into an ecosystem, right? So now you've got both of those things working really well. I'm going to ask you one more question, then I'm going to jump to the chat, mainly because there are so many questions in the chat for both of you. It's actually wild. So I'm going to ask one more question. I'm going to jump to the chat and see. We're going to do quick fire and see how many of those that we can get. So there are always new trends when it comes to websites, right? They come and they go. Which trends are you seeing right now that you think speakers should actually be paying attention to? And which ones should we just ignore? They're a bit faddy and we just need to just leave them where they are.
I think people often get sucked into whizzy design trends, and I think always go for a timeless design for a speaker website, because you want your show reel to be the thing that's standing out. You want them to go and have a look at that. You don't need all this other stuff going on. I would definitely say, using short form video is a trend that definitely lends itself to speakers, as we've already really said. So I would jump on that one. I would be using, you've got so much content. You don't even need to be recording new things. You just need to sit there and be picking out real key nuggets of wisdom that you shared, real inspirational elements of speeches that you've done, and showcasing those through short form content. I think that's definitely a trend that I think speakers should definitely be going with.
Yeah, and if you're looking for longevity on your website as well, don't go too heavy on the kind of design trends. If you keep it simple and classic, it will last longer for you and work harder for you. A website can look quite dated quite quickly if you kind of go down design trends and try and copy like apple.com type things. So that's another thing just to be sort of aware of from just a design perspective as well.
I'm just smiling because I saw someone asking about examples of good speaker websites, and I was literally going to say, go to our website, look at our showcase page. But the lovely June of Isram has already put that in the chat and put a link to it.
Obviously, we've done quite a few speaker websites. Rochelle Carey's is on there as well, which is probably quite a good example of what we have talked about today. But yeah, there's loads of other websites that are great that we haven't designed. So yeah, look around.
Oh, that's a great resource to go and jump to. So I'm going to jump into a couple of these questions in here. John said, since we've been advised that to move away from SEO and to AIO, how do we enhance our websites for AI optimization?
Yeah, so this is kind of a tricky one. Like I said earlier, it's hard to really predict what's going to happen in 2026 and beyond. Really, keeping to the basics is the best way to do SEO anyway, and that will help from an AI perspective anyway. As long as you're writing unique content that is promoting you as a thought leader and promoting your topics, and you're writing that not just on your website, but across all the multiple platforms that you can be found on as well. You're also writing articles for bigger publications. Maybe you've got an article in the New York Times and you're getting backlinks from that as well. That all helps build that big picture that AI can then obviously deep dive into, like Ben sort of mentioned earlier. So it's lots of different citations across lots of different parts of the web, which will help overall with SEO. The difficult thing for speakers is it's a little bit less like a traditional business where you can optimize locally through Google Business Profile and things, where you can kind of amp up the kind of throughput from kind of local areas. Speaker websites don't work that way, so they don't work like a traditional business. So you have to kind of ignore that part. But yeah, writing good content and keeping it consistent and doing it regularly is all going to help with the AI search.
And also, I think with anything, having a website that is fast. Like, page speeds are really important. From a user experience, you don't want to be going to a website that's taken flipping ages to load, because that's another thing that's going to annoy you and you're just going to leave. But also that does help with Google loving you. And some AI searches are coming still from the search engines. Also, some of the AI uses Bing. So as much as we probably all forgot about Bing as a search engine for quite a while, it is important to make sure you're showing up on Bing, because AI is using Bing to surface you. We've also noticed on our analytics that we are just being found more on Bing again recently, which is interesting. So yeah, just keeping an eye on everything really is important, and making sure that what you're doing is working.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is the general SEO principles also apply to AI, and don't forget Bing, because I think a lot of people optimize for Google optimization, but actually if AI is also leaning into Bing, then you want to optimize for Bing as well. And the last question I'm going to take really quickly, because we're almost there, is just before we wrap up, Vimeo versus YouTube. So a lot of people are using Vimeo on their websites, but we've been talking quite a bit about YouTube. Thoughts? Should we be using one over the other? Do we use them differently?
So the thing I like about Vimeo is that obviously I say you can protect your content. You can protect your content from most people if you put something on Vimeo, and you can brand it accordingly. YouTube is great because it's publicly available, can embed anywhere, but also you get the SEO benefits of being on YouTube as another channel to promote what you do. So I think it's kind of that differentiation of what you're outputting on the video. So if it's something that can be in the public forum and you're happy with it being shared far and wide, YouTube is probably the best platform. If it's more closed off and maybe you want to control who sees it and where it gets embedded, Vimeo is probably the best platform for that. So it's a use case kind of dependent scenario, I think.
So it's not either or. Thank you both so much. Simone and or Elliot, can you drop links to Chris and Jude's LinkedIn pages in the chat for people? I want everybody to have a think about what you're going to take from this. For people who we skimmed the surface of everything, but tried to go as deeply as we could in 25 minutes. Chris and Jude, for people who want to connect with you more, I know you've got a freebie that they can go grab straight away. How do they connect a little bit deeper with you so they can continue these conversations?
So we have created a speaker website checklist just for you lot for today. As you'll see, that genuinely is the thing. So many people say it, but if you go to the page, you'll see it specifically mentions this event. You can go and get our speaker website checklist. Go to our website, readysteadywebsites.com. Do go to the showcase page to see some examples of speaker websites on there. And we also have a specific speaker website page as well, which I think you've got the link for to drop in. And we also do have a book. I've just seen it mentioned in the chat. The one on top is Maria's book, obviously, because it's a great book. We've now all shown it. I felt like I should. But also we do have a book, the website handbook, which is available on Amazon and other good bookstores. Which can help you plan your website and think about your ongoing content as well.
Fantastic. Elliot's got all of his books out as well. It's a book you'll have lots to read over the Christmas period. Thank you so much, Chris and Jude. Really, honestly, please give them an incredible round of applause, and please give a round of applause to Ben and Maria as well for giving their time so generously over the last couple of hours to really support us here. I'm going to bring Elliot and Simone back here with me as well as we wrap up. We've got a handful of minutes here to wrap up today. We'd love to hear from you in the chat, what you've been getting from these sessions, and some of your action points. What are you going to be doing? I'm really keen. We said at the beginning, it's really important that you don't just sit here and absorb all of this stuff, but you actually write a note of a handful of things you're going to do from what Maria said, what Ben said, what you heard from Chris and Jude, so that you can actually make some transformations in your business, especially over the Christmas period when a lot of us want a little bit of breathing space. Simone and Elliot, welcome back. I think it's time to wrap this thing up with a beautiful bow.
I think I'll hand it over to Simone to do that.
Yes,
him and his beautiful accent. Mine.
Thank you very much. First of all, again, a massive round of whoop whoops to Chris and Jude. And can we have a massive round of whoop whoops for Lovelda for hosting
well done,
so
Lovelda.
beautifully
Woo!
all the interviews from Maria, from Ben, from Chris and Jude. Now,
Amazing.
as we said, this is really a sneak peek. This is a preview of what you can experience at the Speaker Summit on the 3rd of July, 2026. I put a link here in the chat, and I want first to thanks everyone like Maharuk, Jackie, Kimba, Patrick, Reshma, that have joined already. They've already joined us. We received also other messages of people that are wanting to buy their tickets. So first of all, for everyone that has already joined and got the ticket, thank you, thank you, thank you. Which now leads me to say, if you haven't joined if you haven't got your ticket yet, why not? What are you waiting for? This is the best price that you will get on the Speaker Summit. And if you found this valuable, that's like, you'll get more of this. If you enjoyed it, you found this valuable, you can get more of this and in person. Now, there is also one more thing before I go into the tickets. We haven't mentioned much about the hashtag, so I want to remind you about the hashtag Speaker Summit. What I would love you to do today, throughout the day, is to share using the hashtag Speaker Summit on LinkedIn. We will only check LinkedIn about this particular session. So you can take a screenshot, maybe if you took some pictures, talk about the value that you receive, some of the things that you have learned. You do that, there is going to be a special prize for you, which I will tell you at the end what the special prize is. So make sure you do that. And the one thing that we have learned, that we've seen from this, from all the presentation that we had today, is that we are in a fast moving, fast changing world. And the speakers that are going to be up to date, they're going to go places. The speakers they want, they're going to be left behind. Unfortunately, is the kind of world in which we are living in. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, people. There is a light at the end of the tunnel here.
That's me.
It's Elliot, exactly. Elliot is the light at the end of the tunnel. So good luck to everyone. What can we do? What is our responsibilities? Because instead of looking at what I can't control, we cannot control the world around us. We cannot control the opportunity around us, but we can control our actions. We can control the kind of rooms in which we are putting ourselves in. We can control the actions that we take. We can control how we spend our days. That's what we can control. And so what are our priorities? Is to stay up to date. We got to have a pulse. We cannot hide hand in the sand and just hope for the best. It ain't gonna work. So we gotta be up to date. We gotta find ways through our website, through our show reels, through our connection to stand out with a clear positioning. Making sure that our position is really clear so that people can understand, I need to book you, and this is the reason why I wanna book you. And to do that, we need to be more visible. And we need to be more visible in the right places where decision makers are present. And then finally, we got to understand the industry. We want to understand how this industry works, because there are layers. There are layers. There is door after door after door. And often it's a kind of industry that where one opportunity leads to another. One open doors lead to other 10 doors that are going to open. So how do we find those doors? And how do we find the keys to those doors? Well, often the key is in the relationship that we build in the community. And this is why I invite you again to get your ticket for the 2026 Speaker Summit. It's going to be an experience that will form your entire business as a speaker. And also it will help you reflect and make decisions that will have ripple effects for the years to come in your business. This is how we are deciding. And for some of you that have not been to the event, one of the things that we have really worked on, in particular, Elliot, is building key relationship with bureaus, agents, speaker bookers. So we had, for example, in the past, Diana Stoney, which is a top speaker manager. She's going to be back also next year. Dominic Eldred Earl, which is from London Speaker Bureau. He's been with us for a couple of years already. Dan Riesner from Leading Authorities. He was part of the past edition. Kay Freeman, which is an agent to speaker. And then the next year, we will already have confirmed Claire Young, which runs the biggest speaker bureaus for schools. So one of the things that we are looking at is like, how can we facilitate the building of relevant connections in the room? Because one part is learning what to do, but the other part is having the right people so that you can move this conversation further. And then the other thing that where we decided to focus on is creating space for implementation. Have you ever been to one of these kind of events where um, you were there and you were just bombarded with information from the moment you were in, and then you had barely time to go to the toilet? You're like, I don't even know where to have lunch right now. I hate those events. And we decided to have a great balance between time for connection, time for learning, and time for implementation so that the day feels spacious. So one of the things we're going to do is expert deep dives, so where you're able actually to have implementation sessions and deeper dives on specific topics on top of topics that help you expand your mind to see what's possible, but also things that help you implement as well. So we had more than 1,000 people that were registered for this particular meeting. A lot of people will be watching the replay. We had more than 100 people that were watching on YouTube as well. But unfortunately, we have only 300 places for the event. And we already sold a bunch of tickets throughout this session and already had 80 pre-sales. So we don't have this many. And we are already, that's why we wanted to do this ahead of the year. So that's something that you can put in the calendar. It's like, I'm going to be at the Speaker Summit. And my goal for you is to have this as something that you can come back over and over again. It's almost like the coming home moment. Is the place where you go to give to yourself as a speaker, to sharpen the axe, and to make sure that you grow faster. So again, the tickets are 3 different types of tickets available. The standard that gives you access to the day. I had a question in the chat earlier about I had a question in the chat earlier about the schedule and the agenda. We don't have it yet, and there is a reason why we don't have it yet. Because we will ask, when you buy the ticket, there are questions that we ask to everyone that joins. So this, your answer to your question will inform the agenda of the day, because we want to make sure that you come to the event and it's something that is gonna blow your mind, is exactly what you want. Then if you say, actually, I don't want things to just stop at the event. I want to take the momentum that I started and the energy from the event and take it forward for the next 3 months. That's where the Speaker Summit Plus comes into place. Because in the Speaker Summit Plus, that's where you will have 3 months of additional session to help you implement and create the space and the foundation to implement everything that you've learned. And we all know that the magic happens with implementation. We got to take action, right? So you learn, you expand your mind, you build the right connection, and then you implement with the Summit Plus. And then finally, we have the VIP ticket. And the VIP ticket is for those of you that say, actually, I want just to have someone to have a look at my speaking business. And I want to be able to ask questions that are pertinent for my specific business. I'm already going places. I'm already moving forward. Now I just need the right connections and the right contacts, and that the right people are going to see my face. And this is what the VIP ticket is. Actually, we already sold a couple throughout this session. So for those of you, we have 10 left. If you have, if you want to get ahead with the VIP ticket, or you have a question about the VIP ticket, please let us know. And
Just
this
very
is,
quickly, Simone. Sorry
yeah,
to. So we've confirmed for the VIP for the Bookers Mastermind. We've got Claire Young, who runs the speaker bureau, the biggest speaker bureau for speakers in school. We've got Diana Stoney, who manages top speakers. She manages Hollywood level speakers as well as other speakers. Maria Franzoni is going to facilitate the day. And we've got Mary Tilson, who's going to talk about how you write killer proposals that win you and get you the bookings. Very powerful, girl power led, but it's going to be an incredible afternoon. So join us.
yes, absolutely join us. So we can stay on for a few more minutes. I know we are at the top of the hour. So for those of you that got value, make sure you get your ticket. We'll see you in London on the 3rd of July. This offer is valid until December 1st. Now, we are here to answer other questions that you might have. So if you have other questions about the summit, if you have other questions about what you can expect at the event, or questions about the event, then we are here to answer your questions. So Thanks again, and remember that this is the space where we come to sharpen our axe as a speaker, and this is what the Speaker Summit is about. It is about excellence in speaking. Back to Lovelda and back to Elliot, and also here to answer your questions.
Firstly, I also want to say a huge thank you to those of you who are in the US who've joined us on Thanksgiving. We can apologize for we're in the UK. We don't really do Thanksgiving, so we kind of had a small, teeny tiny oversight there in terms of dates. It's recorded. I know some of you will be watching this as a replay because you had other plans for the holidays. But for those of you who joined us live, I do want to say a special thanks to you because we do appreciate you taking
those
the time
on
to be here
YouTube.
live.
Way.
And to our new YouTube audience, thank you so much for joining live. It's the first time I think we've streamed one of these things on YouTube, so it's amazing to have you here as well. So we're slightly over. I'm looking to see if there's any pertinent questions in the chat. We had one about for Summit Plus, when does the 3-month support begin? I've answered that in the chat. It's normally the week following the event. So we do them weekly, same day, same time, and it typically starts the week after the event. Worst case, 2 weeks after the event, just to give people a little bit of time for those who've been traveling to get back home to be able to join live. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for those who've joined live. Thanks to those of you who are watching the replay. If you're wanting to join us in London, please do not sit on those tickets. We sometimes shock ourselves at how quickly the tickets go. We've had quite a few come through this time around. If you want to if you've got any questions at all about the event that aren't answered right now, please email us at hello@thespeakerawards.com, and a member of the team will get back to you to make sure that those questions are asked. You can also connect with Simone, Elliot, and myself on LinkedIn, where
please do connect with us.
Yeah, all three of us are pretty good on those platforms. It has been an absolute blast supporting you. Thanks again, huge warm round of applause, and thank you again to Maria Franzoni, Ben Gold, and Chris and Jude Wharton for your time, insights, and honestly, I have to go back and rewatch this.
Yeah, me too.
There's so much stuff in here. I'm like, I can't take notes. I'm asking questions, so I'm definitely going to have to go back and redo that. John's got a question. Would you please put your LinkedIn in the chat? Sure. I can grab mine.
I'm having a LinkedIn night. I'm just having a back end nightmare here. So just sorry. I'd love to, but I can't switch screens easily. So
okay, no
Elliot
problem.
K, the good looking one. That's me.
Elliot K, the good looking one. Elliot, I'll drop yours in as well.
I'm so sorry. I can't. I've been navigating everything in the background with the tech issues and things like that. That's why I've
Michaela's got you. Michaela's dropped yours.
Thank you, Michaela.
There's mine. I'm Lovelda Vincenzi MC on LinkedIn. And Simone is Simone-Vincenzi. So should be reasonably easy to find. If you're not following our page on LinkedIn, if you go to Pro Speakers, our company page is there as well, if you'd like to kind of keep in touch with us. Thanks again to everybody who joined live. Thanks to those of you watching the replay, and hopefully looking forward to seeing many of you live in person in July. Until next time, have a fabulous Thanksgiving and rest of your time. Wishing you a very, very Merry Christmas. Take care. Bye from us for now.
Day. Bye.